Yes, you read that title right. I did play Skyrim first in the year of our Lord 2025. Sorry, there's a lot of games. I'll do an apology video with tears soon. Howdy, y'all. This is First Impressions, a series that really needs no prefacing, for the most part. My first and most recent of the First Impressions took me covering my initial thoughts on Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, about halfway through the game. I like my games to meld a bit, hence the more focus on retro titles. I usually do not want to get held up in the hype, so I wish to let the game stew in the public. Speaking of stewing, Skyrim. This game is over a decade old. My ass just picked up this game for a holiday sale and started playing it not too long ago. It's not like I intended to stay away. I just have a lot of games to play, man. No one else finna play Quest 64 a dozen times. Anyways, rambling aside, I intend to make a sort of periodic series where I informally tell you, the viewer, if you should play or buy a game. Now, Zelda made more sense that it was a new title, a game with new premise to a very long-standing series. Skyrim really needs no introduction. Rather than a should you buy, since most already have if they have ever intended to play this game, I intended to take it into a different direction. Skyrim released in 2011. Is it worth buying? Playing and experiencing the game nearly 14 years later. Yes, the hell do you think? It's fucking Skyrim. Obviously. Regardless of your personal feelings, despite needing Elder Scrolls 6 to release, moving past Todd Howard shoving release of this game after re-release of this game down the masses' throats, I mean hell, I see Skyrim more than I see my family at this point. This game is huge. This is one of the best-selling video games of all time, no part in thanks to Skyrim showing up anywhere it can. Death, taxes, and Skyrim releases are the three inevitables in life. Just deal with it. Skyrim tops best video game of all time list, favorite video games, most influential, and it shows what kind of impact this title has done to the overall gaming landscape in the last decade alone. Skyrim as a design is talked about to no end. Any game with open world is seemingly compared to Skyrim. The closest games to top this monolith, in my opinion, have been The Witcher 3 and Breath of the Wild in terms of a public opinion on what makes an open world game good. It sets that standard, and it has set the standard for almost 15 years. That seems to be as good a place as any to actually talk about the game now. The game's open world design is pretty damn consistent with more current games. It is clear that simple world traversal, fast travel, and the amount of stuff one can do is endless, to say the least. You are thrown into the world and incentivized to start the story at the very least. It puts enough in motion to really get you to explore the rest of the game. For the game's size, the tutorial is not really that long, and the game really gives you a pat in the back and sends you off to explore. Should speak on my character, huh? I made a dark elf, named Plato, well obviously, and specializing in magic for the most part. Well, I know a few things here and there from this game for just being around so long in the gaming zeitgeist. I am going into this game rather blind, so I have been experimenting with a bunch of stuff. I won't cover much story, as to be honest, it is something I have not been terribly invested in, nor am I far enough to even really properly talk about it if I'm being honest. That being said, there are endless amounts of side stories, mini-quests, and factions to join, making replayability a must. From the start, it's a tad overwhelming how many options are presented with you, but that's what I mean, the replayability factor here is quite apparent. How you approach most quests gives you multiple outcomes, or at least different ways to tackle a single problem. I know not about the inner workings of Skyrim politics, so who knows if I'm making sane decisions yet, but hell, Plato was trying his best. For an example, I'm in the process of the College of Winterhold questline because of all the magic stuff, and I've been enjoying this little side story for the most part. It's been pretty fun. For me, open world type games really are at their best when I can not put the controller down. This game is no exception. It really feels that ADHD type brain that I always get with these types of games of the, ooh, what's that? Anytime I see a new icon on the map. Never will I ever make it to a single destination in one go. Also, my hoarding ass will pick up anything and everything, so it halts my exploration for a mass selling spree or dumping it off in my treasure chest. I halted any and all progress to almost immediately buy Breeze Home in Whiterun just to have storage. The amount of caves, bandit camps, towns, farms, ruins are crazy high. Finding new gear, spells, or just extra general goodies makes every dungeon delve worth it in my eyes. You also gain access to new shouts that way too, usually. As fun it is to Vusro Da somebody off a cliff, I do want to see the other shouts as well. I've heard pretty good stories about some of them. Segueing into combat a bit, this may have been one of the biggest reservations I had prior to playing. And now that I've played it, melee combat kinda sucks ass. It does not feel good. I'm so glad I went with a magic route. Trying to blast enemies feels really great, as well as the bow combat. I quite enjoy that. I've spoken with people who've played Skyrim since launch, and it seems that many agree that the melee combat is clunky, but is still enjoyed regardless. Maybe it's a me thing, but there is no connection when striking, it feels like, and just getting hit feels the same too. 1 minute you're in combat, the next I die because I didn't know I was in range of an enemy sword. That being said, I do not absolutely hate it, as strange as it did for me to say that it sucks. I appreciate the freedom in character building, as you never are married to one strategy. If you dislike the melee, like me, just switch to something else. You may need to change gear, but aside from what perks you allocate upon level up, it's pretty easy to change. Transferring over, I really do enjoy the leveling system of the game. If unaware, there are standard levels gained after enough experience and levels in the many categories allowed to the player. Destruction magic, light armor, two-handed weapons, sneak, speech, the list goes on, I'm sure you've seen the memes. I'm a big number go up kind of guy and love experimenting with different things just to up the many categories given to you. This is a great system too, if you ask me. When talking about combat, you are strongest in what you use the most, obviously, and you'll naturally gain levels from using that type of skill. Then, just allocate the skill points upon level up and voila, now you have your build. It's good time and it also feels rewarding too. Level ups aren't super infrequent, but the smaller skill level ups happen quite a bit, making you feel like you gain progress, even with the smallest of steps. I honestly think this is a great design and really good setting standard for open world kind of games. Moving away from gameplay specific, it feels really weird to actually play something that feels like a piece of internet and gaming history finally. So many memes have spawned from Skyrim. From the opening cutscene to arrow in the knee, the amount of new memes I've picked upon from just playing the game shows the omnipresence that this game has. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen the beacon reference already, for example. It's a very quotable game, too. This may be due to every NPC giving you their unsolicited trauma when you enter their proximity. Yes, John Battleborn, I understand that everyone is obsessed with death lately.
You know what's wrong with Skyrim these days? Everyone is obsessed with death. May your sword be sharp, and your tongue sharper.
Also, thank you, Todd Howard. Never have I ever wanted to kick a child until these bastards open their goddamn mouths.
Another wanderer, here to lick my father's boots. Good job.
This game is so goddamn goofy. Never have I spoke about a game to a fanbase who loves the flaws as if they were core gameplay mechanics. This game is buggy, clunky, and weird. Anytime stuff like this happens, fans of a series may try to rally up and defend their AAA title. Any fan of Skyrim I feel like I talk to in person just goes, yeah, this game's buggy as shit, Lamau. Hey, I respect it. Rather the fans accept the game's issues than pretend that they aren't there in the first place. I definitely side with them here, as any bugs I see never really piss me off for the most part, more of a chuckle or a head scratcher. They don't seem to be too game breaking at least. The biggest issue I have that could be associated with this kind of talk to a degree is saving. For a game that incentivizes unchained freedom of exploration, the conservation of autosaves is quite baffling. I will explore around a lot of the world or a dungeon only to realize that I lost like the last 20 to 30 minutes of progress because I got one-shot by an enemy. Skill issue to some, more of just a minor inconvenience to the rest. I got better at autosaving, just personally, but still hope it's more forgiving if Elder Scrolls 6 ever sees the light of day. I don't know why the many re-releases never decided to up the autosaves, because, yeah, it just kind of, whatever. Tie that with sometimes the game-breaking bugs, as I've had to reset my game a few times too. It does suck, but it's never been too much progress lost. Regardless, that's really all I have to say on this game right now. I see why it's considered that game for so many. I cannot put it down some days. The content is bursting at the seams. Most modern versions include all the DLC for piss cheap too. I don't think I got this for more than $15. So, even more crap to do. The amount of quests I have finished are staggeringly low now that I'm looking at it. I can see dozens of more hours put into this game as I've been enjoying it more and more. So yeah, to repeat my point, I like Skyrim. I think it's worth playing. I think it holds up in the present. Jesus Christ, Elder Scrolls 6 better be good at this point. I feel like I'm talking to an audience that has already played this game. Most people who have any interest in this game have most likely played this, but if you're someone like me, I guess, who's avoided it for this long, try it out. It's worth your time, I think. But that is all I got for this informal style rant for y'all. I'm gonna go back to my Lakeview home. I gotta keep building that. Sorry, I really don't care and don't want to be the Dragonborn. I'm retiring and becoming Bob the Frickin' Builder. It's actually really been fun, I'm gonna be honest. Alright, that's it, y'all. Peace.